Last week, pro-life leaders protested at House Speaker John Boehner's office for a second time. They're furious congressional Republicans haven't been bringing pro-life bills up for votes.
These abortion opponents are still mad at what U.S. House leaders did just hours before the January 22nd March for Life.
In a surprise reversal, they abandoned the plan to vote on a law banning abortion for unborn babies this size and this well-developed.
Tragically, on the Roe v. Wade memorial, they pulled legislation which would ban abortions after 20 weeks. That's not just a betrayal of the pro-life movement, that's a betrayal of these innocent children.
The protesters say nearly 4 months of inaction has been inexcusable, especially when 60% of Americans want some abortions limited. Pro-life activist Mallory Quigley says that's especially true of the 20-week abortion ban.
There's been more than 5 major national polls that all show that Americans agree with us on this point. It's time to remove the United States from the list of only 7 countries to allow abortion after this point in time.
So there's relief at news the House will vote on the measure this week.
The pro-life movement is definitely on the move throughout the country. In fact, state legislatures have passed hundreds of anti-abortion bills.
But at least until now, Washington politicians have been slow to act.
And we're saying, come on, Congress, act on the promises that you made to America's children.
Sometimes the details can get in the way.
Illinois Congressman Randy Hultgren backs the legislation and blames delays on last-second reservations of some supporters.
When it is presented or how it's presented, there can be disagreement. So it's not a disagreement over the ideas or what we're doing, but it's more a strategy of how we're doing it.
So activists say voters have to keep phoning and emailing their pro-life lawmakers to make sure they act.
Because they cannot ever forget that this is a defining issue for many, many Americans and that we want to see a change.
Reverend Mahoney has seen this type of obstacle all too often.
I think within the pro-life community, we've come to refer ourselves as the Rodney Dangerfield of social movements. We get no respect.
He's hoping to reverse that by taking action like the Capitol Hill protests.
We walked precincts, we made phone calls, we dropped tons of literatures, we gave millions of dollars to Republican candidates. And tragically, look what happens. We get completely betrayed. You ignore us, you make a promise and then break it.
In the case of the 20-week abortion ban, GOP Representatives Renee Elmers, Jackie Walorski, and Charlie Dent derailed it. Elmers and Walorski complained the bill would force rape victims wanting an abortion after 5 months to have reported the rape. And Dent was worried about voting on a contentious social issue that could upset women and young voters. They talked enough other Republicans into opposing the ban, Speaker Boehner and fellow leaders felt they no longer had the votes to pass it.
There still is a strong number of people who see that as important.
Mahoney points out numbers that should matter to politicians, the 2014 election results.
Every incumbent who lost was pro-choice. Not one pro-life incumbent lost.
He says Republicans voting pro-life isn't just moral, it's smart politics.
It's protecting their power base in the House. It's actually ensuring that they will win. And for Democrats, studies show 90% of all pro-life Democrats win.
Hultgren pleads for abortion opponents to give Congress and its frustratingly slow deliberative process more time.
Bad things can happen very quickly here. Good things often take a long time, but it's worth it. We need to persevere.
Paul Strand, CBN News, Capitol Hill.